You're listening to The Wealth Advocates with finance experts John Mickelson and Patrick Jenkins. The Wealth Advocates simplify the financial world and show you how today's events could affect your financial health so you feel confident about your financial future.
Good morning, Wealth Advocates Nation. We are excited to talk to you once again about taxes, and we've got our expert in tax planning, Olivia Williams, with us. Olivia, we're talking about required minimum distributions today. This is an awesome topic. A lot of my clients get this in terms of they receive it. They don't get this in terms of the implications of it. So maybe you could walk us through and give us examples of what required minimum distributions are, their impact, things that our people need to watch for.
Yeah, so you reach a certain age, the government wants their money, they want their taxes. You have these accounts that you haven't been paying taxes on, they've been tax deferred, and they're like, pay up, where's my money?
And the RMD comes from an IRA, sometimes a 401k, a simple IRA, SEP IRA, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just going to be talking about some of those rules that come with those and ways that you can combine them. You try to avoid things like that so that you're not taxed a ridiculous amount.
It's painful. This one is, our clients need to understand this. The financial advisor needs to understand this. Wealth advocates can't afford to make mistakes on this because the taxes, the penalty is painful to my people.
Right.
So what are the rules for multiple IRA, RMD accounts?
Right. So they are individual accounts. They are not joint accounts. And so therefore the RMDs from your husband and your account cannot be combined. You cannot pay all of the RMDs for your account and your husband's account from your husband's account.
Let me add some color to that. Do you mind? I'm sorry to cut you off, but here's why this gets so confusing. Years and years ago, you used to have to pay an RMD out of every single account individually. Every single, let's rephrase that, every single IRA or 401k account, that percentage had to come out of that. And then a few years ago, Congress said, this is crazy, we're making this too complicated. What if we just say, you can take all the RMDs out of one of your accounts if you want to, or several of your accounts, or all of them if you want to. We'll give you the flexibility. You have to pull out so much money so we can get our taxes, but we really don't care which account you pull it out of. The confusion that you're just articulating is, well, a husband and wife, a married couple will say, well, okay, we'll just pull it out of his this year, and we'll pull it out of hers the next year. It doesn't work that way. It's only by social security number. So what you just said, I'm going to recap it, is she has to pull out her RMDs, he has to pull out his RMDs from whatever IRA, 401k, simple IRA, or SEP IRA they want. Correct? Okay.
Correct. But what is great is that if you are an individual with multiple IRAs, you can pull it from just one account, as you spoke to earlier. You can combine those RMDs for one and make it easier. I don't know if that's what you prefer to do, but it makes it easier for you.
Yep, very, very true. Very, very true. So they can be aggregated. You can come up with a strategy from the individual account or for the multiplicity of the account. How about different types of accounts? 401ks, for example, versus IRAs. Can I take an RMD out of an IRA to pay for a 401k?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, shoot, more complication.
Right, and even further complicates it is that your 401k has to come from that specific 401k. You cannot combine 401k RMDs. They have to be from the specific account that they are in.
Okay, same with 403bs, right?
Well, actually, your 403bs can be aggregated,
Okay.
but they can't be aggregated with a 401k.
Okay. So the different types of accounts, we've talked about simple IRA, SEP IRA, traditional IRA. Those could be combined, correct? Mm-hmm. Second type of account is a 401k. Third is a 403b. Mm-hmm. There's also 401as out there that act like 401ks. All this gets super complicated. And while we're trying to show you depth of knowledge here, we're not trying to suggest that clients need to figure this out on their own. This is kind of where we fall into it, right? So let me walk you through how we create a plan for our clients and RMDs. First thing that I want my clients to know is that each theme is demonstrated or manifest in a different quarter for wealth advocates. So I often talk about how we want your retirement, your investment plan to match your income tax plan, to match your estate plan, to match your general income plan and your risk tolerance. All those things, we want to coordinate those things into one. Because the more money you make, the more money you have, for example, it doesn't get easier, it gets more and more complicated. And this is a prime example of that, where more accounts means more complication when it comes to RMD. And once again, the penalty on not taking the RMD is significant. So we create a plan for you. In the first quarter, we're going to talk about what's going on in the market. In the second quarter, we're going to talk about estate planning. In the third quarter, we're going to talk about taxes. In the fourth quarter, we're going to talk about income. Third and fourth quarter, this is where we're going to figure out what should we do about RMDs. We're going to look at your different accounts. We're going to calculate the RMD. We're going to look at where's the most efficient place to pull the RMD from. And then we're going to look at what do we want to do with the RMD. So this 4-step plan gives you the ability and flexibility to be ahead of the curve, but most importantly, it gives you the ability to avoid that significant RMD penalty for not taking enough. Boy, we're going to talk about inherited IRAs now, and that is a moving topic. So I'm excited to see how you articulate this, because whatever you say may change in the near future.
Right.
Very near future.
Very near future.
Go ahead, talk to me about an inherited IRA.
So when you inherit an IRA, we're trying to plan it in a way that's best suited for your tax plan. We're trying to coordinate all these things. And if you take the full distribution, those tax consequences are significant. And I'm sure most people do not want a significant tax consequence in 1 year.
Right.
So what we try to do is we take those inherited IRA and take that full advantage of the 10 years that you're given to take the distribution. So are you going to be in a lower tax bracket next year? Maybe we need to pull more from the IRA at that point so that these tax consequences are lessened for you.
So let me qualify what I just said. So Secure Act changed the way IRAs work. If Dad dies and I get his IRA, well, it used to be, well, I'll just take it out over my entire lifetime. And as long as it's gone by the time I die, fantastic. Meaning gone, we've pulled all the money out. And then in 2019, the Secure Act came out that said, no, you got to do that in 10 years because we're tired of waiting on those taxes. And then right now, the House has passed a version of Secure 2.0. The Senate's passed a version of Secure 2.0. Those bills are in reconciliation. But what it looks like, they say, is I inherited an IRA from Dad. If he lives normal life expectancy, I'm at my top earning years. So I'm in my top tax bracket. I have to take a required minimum distribution every year for 10 years until that's depleted. So I have some flexibility, right? In year 1, it can be 10%. In year 2, it's not exactly 10%. It's 9 years divided by whatever the amount is left. I have to get it all out by year 10. But I could take more in certain years, like you just articulated. I could take 50% out in a really poor economic year and move that into an individual account. Let's say it's 2022 when the market's down 30%. Maybe I want to pull Apple out and put it in an individual account and let it grow. I'll pay the taxes on the lower value. So that's one example of how we might do that. Anything else on inheriting IRAs that we should be aware of?
Just there's other options that we have. Obviously, it depends on if you're the one creating the IRA or that it's one you're inheriting, but a trust could be a good way to set as the beneficiary so that your individual children are not taking the blunt of the force of the tax.
Lots of different ways to do it. And one thing that we ought to share with everyone is a inherited IRA is different than an IRA that you inherit. The IRA that you inherit used to be the old rule. People would just take their parents' IRAs and put it in their own IRA. You inherited it. An inherited IRA or a beneficiary IRA is a certain designation of the custodian. And the custodian has responsibility from the IRS to make sure that those distributions occur correctly. So not only do you need to make the distributions, you also need to make sure that the account is set up correctly. That's what wealth advocates will do for people. So let me give you one tip. Did you know that in addition, we always talk about the federal taxes and we kind of miss state taxes, but in several states, ours included, that required minimum distribution is taxable as well. So not only are you at your top federal tax bracket when you get that IRA, well, you've also got to pay another 5% in the state of Utah to any income that you receive from it. So that's a tough one. What happens, Olivia? This is the fun one. This is the punchline of it all. What happens if I forgot to take an RMD or if I missed an RMD?
Well, we're going to try and take that RMD as soon as possible. As soon as we recognize that we forgot it, we're going to do our best to get on top of that. And unfortunately, there is the 50% tax on what you do not take out, which is horrible. So we are going to do our best, as we talked about that plan that we set up, to be sure that those RMDs are taken before the end of the year, because we do not want those consequences for you.
You know, this is going to surprise everybody what I'm about to say, but the IRS is pretty willing to work with you on this problem. This happens all the time, and especially in 2022, when the law is in flux, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But oftentimes, if we get into February and we realize, oh no, I forgot to take an RMD for last year, the accountant will work with us. They'll call the IRS. We'll plead our case. The IRS is very understanding for the most part because it's a very complicated rule. But RMDs are critical for our client base because you don't want to screw that up. You don't want to miss an RMD. You don't want to pay that 50% penalty. So great presentation, Olivia. Anything else on RMDs that we need to know?
No, we're just going to be working with you to be sure that those are set up so that it's not a hassle.
That is so awesome. All right, well, thank you and have a great day from Wealth Advocates.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth Advocates. Join us every month by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. You can also look for the Wealth Advocates on Stitcher and YouTube. Want more information about today's topics? Reach out to John or Patrick directly by calling or texting the Wealth Advocates office at 435-754-7888. Learn more about the Wealth Advocates and how they can help you by visiting www.wealth-advocates.com. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Wealth Advocates and Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated are not affiliated.